I just almost done with this. So next. Oh yeah. So is it, it's supposed to prompt, right? When it's, oh yeah, there, did it, did it.
And
Oh, and Slash has a intro. Yeah.
Yeah. We
Okay, I see us.
we gathered and entangled, feeling and witnessing, healing and evolving, we gather and entangle. We arrive and center to world together in our deepest presence. We suspend our self-coercion under dominating structures of time, of category and class. We speak to the universe in confidence, in trust. We speak to co-create with the music of the universe. We meet halfway. Boom.
Love it.
I'm gonna do that every time, please.
We look at
Yes.
can evolve too.
Yes. Okay, put the agenda in the thingy.
Mhm.
So we did all, so people who are tuning in, we did our check-ins and all that offline, and now we're here starting with the updates and announcements, which I'm gonna keep very short. I just need to order a kit for Saffron. Oh wait, I do want to have gives people time to share out their test results if people wanted to share anything about it. I briefly looked at mine. I haven't looked at it in depth. I'm curious if anyone has any interesting things you want to share about it.
About a tiny house?
Yeah, yeah, about your test result. If you had a chance to look.
I only looked closely enough to see like the recommendations to have more fermented foods and more like olives and flaxseed, and I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I've like
It's so
so
funny.
but
Gossamer emailed me and said that she also did uh, took the recommendation. But that's also, I don't know if I was influenced by Gossamer, but I also immediately went there, or like, like, because they're like the red things, so I immediately looked at the red things, the warning things. And I guess I have like some like, an overabundance of certain microbes and not other, like, yeah, and that could cause some kind of something. So I'm very curious about that. Like, what are the overabundant microbes and what are they doing and why? And maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's good that they're overabundant. I don't know. But they can also maybe form if they're overabundant. If they're overabundant, maybe we can take some out and make the bay with it. You know?
Oh, nice.
what your microbiome is trying to bring into the more into the world.
Yeah.
Where's this
That's
section
what.
that gives recommendations? Okay.
Oh,
Oh, mine
screw.
are using just a bunch of like chemistry words. Oh, except for eat the rainbow. Plants are got superheroes. Okie dokie.
Eat the rainbow. I
Tiny
see that you got
boss.
your thing. You got your thing, your kit
It's
on
in.
sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in our shared thing, which is great.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Maybe when maybe we'll have a time to get it deeper into it when people have theirs, everyone has theirs, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe even next TFT.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put that in. Action item. Okay, so the next other stuff is just like things mostly to remind remind us that they need to be done, which is the creative capital industry connection updates, or just like what's going on with that. The grant writers still want to write the email to Creative Capital, and then the Max's Furby proposal, which I have to check in with Max again. But that's it. Any other updates and developments? Okay. All right, Lambda,
Is
yeah.
yeah, is there anything we need to do with the different with getting Saffron's kit, grant writer email?
Yeah, I just need to text Saffron and get her address. I was hoping she'd be here, but I'm also like kind of waiting to get paid. I like spent too much money. And I could use my credit card, but also I don't really want to. But that is something I also want to talk with Rev School about in general, about like maybe in the future, like how payments like so it doesn't always have to go through me, and like, if possible, people do have means to do it. I mean, I think it's such an isolated thing, maybe not a big deal. But
That makes sense to me to have alternatives to you.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of why we did the
Um,
Open Collective. I should add you two on Open Collective, by the way.
oh,
I'm gonna do that. Let's see, add. Do you all know what Open Collective is? Like so that's where that's where our money is, is like in this Open Collective. And so like if you go on there and you search for Revolution School, you can see all our transactions. Like I like it because it's like everything's kind of transparent. I always had like fantasies about like like all transactions in the Rev School being like, posted somewhere. Um and so that's so like all the money, like we're hosted by MOHA, which is Museum of Human Achievement, which is our fiscal sponsor. So money goes in and out through them, but it's like all like organized, or like everything is on Open Collective.
ooh. That'll be interesting to see what it's like on the from the registered end.
I'll invite you to as members.
I'm pulling up the diffraction apparatus
Cool. Yes.
pages. Yeah.
That was so
Okay.
good. That was
I'm
so
gonna share
fun.
screen this time. I realized last time we didn't share screen, and sharing screen will work.
Good for the video.
Yeah, good for YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Okay, do y'all see
Oh,
this?
that's right. Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. And look, okay, da 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 da
Wow. Wait, did you do this? Did you?
Yeah, this was me. I was out. I was doing this during my day yesterday and had a nice time. So what oh, let's do some kind of framing first
Yeah.
again. So here's some, this isn't super deeply thought out, but some more quotes that I pulled from Brad, and y'all can share anything if you want to as well. So because I mean, part of this exploration is just understanding what we want to define as diffraction apparatus and how to define that in a way that is like leverages all of the theorizing that's gone into Brad's work. And I think the three of us, I'm the least familiar with the fullness of Brad's work outside of just that chapter about diffraction. But here are three bits from the chapter on diffraction. One says, What I'm interested in doing is building diffraction apparatuses in order to study the entangled effects that differences make. The apparatuses must be tuned to the particularities of the entanglements at hand. The key question in each case is this: how to responsibly explore entanglements and the differences they make. Simply stated, diffraction has to do with the way waves combine when they overlap and the apparent bending and spreading of waves that occurs when waves encounter an obstruction. Do either of y'all want to add anything in how we understand our operations as a diffractive apparatus, diffraction apparatus
Yes.
today?
Yeah. And it's something it's reminding me of like when you, Lamshiv, kind of made the connection between optical, like fine detail versus like the optical. Wait, no. Geometric. Wait, oh damn. I can't even remember the fucking terms. It's optical and something else.
Uh, Geometric optics and quantum optics.
Oh, damn, no, I think it's something. All right. Anyways, so I'm wondering if something that I'm like also, so when you were reading this Lamb Shift, it reminded me of that, and that being part of our practices of like when to know to go into fine detail, like because sometimes going into fine detail for everything is not like generative or something. So maybe it's like like we go into fine detail, which is whatever that other thing is called, when someone has a bodily like no or some kind of feel, right, like a bodily something to whatever is being happening, right, an emotional response of feeling, and then that is an indication that we need, that's a mark on a body, yeah, like a mark on the body, that's an indication that we need to go into fine detail. I really like that. I think that's like such an important aspect, and also brings in the somatic part, because that's one thing I think about Broad. I love Broad, of course, but like they never talk about feelings or emotions or like anything like that. So I'm always kind of curious their relationship to feelings.
Could I read the excerpt that was to also remind us of the terminology? So the crux of this is on page 85. The crux of the analogy is this. When in the case, oh wait, the analogy is between geometrical optics and classical Newtonian mechanics on the one hand, and physical optics and quantum mechanics on the other. The crux of the analogy is this. When in the case of a particular experiment, the wave nature of light or matter is not significant, it may be possible to use classical mechanics as a shortcut to the more rigorous analysis that quantum mechanics provides.
Yeah.
Can we add that quote to the
Oh yeah, good idea.
um and not that you have to do it all, but
Oh, and let me
oh yeah, share the thing.
how do I open up the chat from here? I get kind of confused about this. Does this link work for y'all?
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna share screen again. But I can easily type this out. I have it right in front of me.
I'm gonna also maybe find that quote about objectivity and marks on bodies, maybe,
Cool. Yeah.
and then a way to connect the two. Uh, See, this is where the index comes in handy.
Oh, it doesn't auto. And so how does this quote and this distinction between the shortcut versus the rigorous analysis, how does that inform our understanding of diffraction apparatuses? Or how does that apply to diffraction? Like, how is that relevant to diffraction apparatuses? Do y'all have thoughts on that?
What was it? Say that the question again?
How is this distinction between shortcut methods and shortcut analyses and then rigorous analyses, how is that relevant to our performance as a diffraction apparatus?
I liked what we just said about what somebody just said about like if someone has a bodily response, then we go into the diffraction thing, and if we're all kind of on the same page, then we don't need to get defective about it.
Maybe sorry. I also just read a part about objectivity that might be helpful. It's going off of what Splash is saying.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking like it's like because when you pose that question, Lamshift, I was like, shit, wait, are we always supposed to be doing rigorous as a diffractive apparatus? Is it always like rigorous? And then so then I'm like, oh yeah, maybe, but like having bodily marks on body, like having a bodily response to something means we have to go even more deeper, like something like so it's an indication that maybe we're like not doing a diffractive apparatus or something, because we're not attending to all the entanglements. So then I found this quote that's on page 91 because I'm just looking about objectivity. So it said, so objectivity cannot be about producing undistorted representations from afar. Rather, objectivity is about being accountable to the specific materializations of which we are a part. And this requires a methodology that is attentive to and responsive/responsible to the specificity of material engagements in their agential becoming. So like that, so like it require like a diffractive apparatus in a more somatic way or whatever requires that we have to always attend to this question of and in the body, because it's like and also like that we are like that we're always becoming, so we're always participating in the becoming, right? And so like the accountability is like the being responsible or attentive to that.
And when we're not, and when we're, there's also the conceptualization of an apparatus and apparatuses that aren't necessarily diffraction apparatuses.
Mhm.
Is that right? Is that a Barrett thing?
Probably meaning like the apparatus isn't always like it could be like a belief system.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm wondering like what the entangler, what you said about like when we're being a diffraction apparatus all the time and like the rigorousness all the time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think of that?
I don't know. It's a bit like it's still unclear to me.
Do you think a diffraction apparatus requires that we're rigorous all the time, or can it sometimes be uh the surface or whatever I forget the word that you.
Maybe there's this
Okay. There.
the apparatuses must be tuned to the particularities of the entanglements at hand. The key question in each case is how to responsibly explore entanglements and the differences they make. And I mean, this is what the quote that you read in Tangler is reiterating, kind of about objectivity. Is that right? Was that understanding it right? To see
Mhm.
these as really parallel to each other?
Mhm. Yes. Yes. Yes, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel ready to jump into our descriptions of TFT, but do either of y'all want to talk theory anymore?
Let's get to material. Let's
Okay.
get to the specificity of our material entanglements.
That's right. Let's get to those things. Okay, so we have these two guiding questions, which is what do the descriptions do? And then what do the differences do? The differences in our diffractive apparatus, or the differences that are created by our apparatus and the waves of these statements that are going through them. And I have clarity on how we can go about this first question, and the second one, I'm not sure. And we'll see if that's something that feels fitting for us to spend much time on, because it could just be that in exploring this first question some more, what do the descriptions do? That is like that thing coming out of that, we're maybe a little bit confused about how to identify what their differences do. And that our end goal is to have a statement of what TFT is.
I love this. Who said this can be the statement? This whole process. Like, want to know what TFT is? Watch TFT number. Da da da.
And like at one break, we like honest. Also, we don't even have to come out with one statement. There was a thing that came up earlier where months ago where we were like, it can scroll between statements. Like we don't. One of the main reasons we're doing this is to know what's going to go on the website, but also to explore what being a diffraction apparatus can look like in this case. So my suggestion is that last week for everybody on the YouTube stream, last week we went through and had a good handful of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different descriptions of what Thinky Feely Tank is. And we went through and made some notes that came to mind through our discussion about what these different descriptions did. And let's start today by going back through them and being able to focus on them individually and see if there's anything we want to add about what each of these are doing.
I like how that drawing is being used to make a cut, an agential cut between this and what it's doing. Okay, so are we just looking at them?
Yeah, would one of y'all read this out loud?
Thinky Feeling Tank is an event / gathering / playground / diffraction apparatus / collective / worlding media.
Okay, and the question for us now is, what does this description do?
And the things underneath is what we came up with last
This
time,
is stuff that came up last time.
Recognizes the distinction between the TFT1 and TFT2 events and what we are in right now. Terminology directly pulled from Karen Barad refers to media. Oh, right, yeah. Also, I don't know if that was a typo on my part, but it's also Thinky Feeling. But maybe that was
I've been autocorrect.
Huh?
Could have been autocorrect.
But then I was also like, maybe that was on purpose or something. I don't know.
No, I think it was a typo. Just being a jerk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this, what can we also add to it? The doing.
Yeah. I think we should do that.
But just like this is also what it's doing is it's like it's identifying the Thinky Feely Tank as these formats or whatever, like a structure, like an event or a gathering, by the forms it has taken.
By
the forms it has taken.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, I was thinking along the lines, like what it does for me is it kind of triangulates TFT, but whatever triangulates is for like 7 words. Like it uses these 7 points as a way of like plotting where TFT is in the dimension of things.
I
Heptagon.
love that. Add that. The triangulation is so good. It is triangulating.
Heptagonating.
Yeah, yeah. Um, heptagonate. Are these conceptualizations? I don't want to just buzzword that
No, that's
term. Creates cloud of forms is a really
yeah,
I think
forms.
form is interesting for like form applies to several of them and not all of them. I think, but I think forms and like aspirations or something, like forms
Mm,
and visions.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. Heptagonate. Um,
I've been thinking a lot about that conceptualization thing. Your one last time. We'll get to that.
we'll get to it. This feels like solid to me.
Yes, same.
Okay.
I love this.
Wait, can I? Yeah.
Do you want me to read it?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the description, someone's description. Thinky Feely Tank is a loose collective of philosopher dash technologist dash artists co-creating apparatuses that materialize liberatory theories into companionate. I was like this companionate praxis and somatically integrative tools. Somatically integrative is in those, I don't know what to call them, triangular things. Arrows.
Angle brackets.
Angle
Angle
brackets.
brackets.
Wait,
Angle
that's
bracket.
hang shelves on them. I don't know. I think it is.
Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see all of what was written. Can y'all still read this?
Hmm.
Okay.
So this is so you want me to read what we came up with last time?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so this is what people said that statement was doing for them, which is engages intimacy of companionship, particularly relative to community, refers to apparatus allowing uncertainty about what characterizes the apparatus, refers to event and praxis, angle brackets communicate provisional and refer to coding without fitting within coding grammar, refers to the tools that interact with bodies, naming naming the types of people involved, machininess paired with somatically integrative, jargon equals inaccessible question mark.
I just completely copied and pasted. Could I delete these two? Is that a mismove?
Wait, why do you want to delete it?
They are, to me, they're characterizing that statement or describing it and not saying what it does. Or like are like
Uh,
kind of like notes on our conversation.
how about inaccessible is the thing it's doing?
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, yeah.
L-
Mm, it's not a great way to put it.
Machinist pairs.
Semantically.
Oh, so that it's just they're saying what it's doing for them is it feels both machiney and somatic,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
perhaps. Yeah.
Are there any feelings that come up whenever you're reading these responses or something?
I mean, I I do I have a I do have a bodily response to jargon equals inaccessible question mark.
Yeah, yeah.
But partly because that's something that because the original text is something that I wrote, and so that that it's like is that well, okay, the actual bodily response is kind of, I feel indignant, like a like a child who was trying to do something uh trying to do something amazing and then told that it's bad for some way that wasn't on the child's radar or something. Um sort of, and and certainly obviously my thinking module is like obviously, I have the vocabulary that I have, and I have no I have no bodily sense of what words are like accessible or not accessible to people. And so I'm not, like I can think myself grateful for the judgment, but for the question. Um, but like is it is it actually the jargon that's inaccessible, or is it something about the syntax? Like is it um like what what makes this seem inaccessible to someone? Um and what other other than using this word companionate that no one has ever seen.
That's my favorite part. I mean, I understand that because people have told me that the things that I say are jargony or something, and I'm always like, what? Like how? I think, and so I come to understand what people are talking about. And I think it's like things like um co-creating apparatuses that materialize liberatory theories, like stuff like that, where it's like, what is that? Like, what's an apparatus, or what's, like, where it feels like there's like
There's got to be a plain
a,
language in this that is
or
not
yeah,
there.
like an understanding that maybe if you don't have that understanding,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, like
Mm.
that, those strings of words could feel, I think, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. No, like it's making me think about like what is the plain language version of this and how would that diffract interestingly with the original, where it's like, what am I saying? Like we are we're some people who come together and try to make real stuff that really does stuff. Um, to connect us with our bodies and or, to connect our bodies and our actions or something, yeah. Like
Yeah,
materialize
but it
liberty.
would be cool. Oh, sorry. I just
You go.
I was just like thinking about like our earlier conversation, and I was like, damn, it would be cool. Like, because there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't know if it's about trying to make it something. And I'm like, how we were talking about how we're all emerged differently in different like contexts. We were talking earlier about like shifting from an experience that I have to translating to someone. Yeah, yeah. And I was like just imagining if it was like this animated thing in which like the description was this thing in which like it like is animated or something and goes through like the shifts and then like actually has us there in the entanglement, like saying it, or I don't know, like with our card or something. Like, be so cool. Because also like it's in context with you, Splash, and like, like also what you bring to it, that this statement had, like why it's like, I don't know, like important or something or significant.
Yeah, the thing of value that it is communicating is grounded in like the context of the things that I've
Yeah.
used today. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of what we're also like bringing in with us, right?
Yeah.
As a part of the diffraction apparatus.
Exactly. Yeah.
One thing when you said how'd you put it? plain speak, what was the term you used?
Plain language.
Plain language is reading it this time, I saw that what this description um the apparatuses is like super central to what it's describing Thinky Feely Tank at. Like it's what this one thing that this is doing is that it's saying that Thinky Feely Tank uh is co-creating apparatuses.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is an elaboration on like what the membership of Thinky Feely Tank is and what the results of the apparatuses are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is amazing. That is amazing. What is it doing?
Yeah.
That was great.
And that is just boiling down the syntax of the sentence to what is the main verb and what is coordinating with it. It's good.
Oh yeah, it is what it's doing, it's co-creating. How do I put this in a
You said it great. You said like what it is doing is like, so it's naming Thinky Feely Tank as something that creates apparatuses.
Yeah.
By and the apparatuses are made by these certain group of people, right? The philosophers are.
okay.
And those apparatuses do this thing, which is materialize theories, concepts into praxis, like that's centered in companionness, companionship. Companion sounds better. Yeah, like basically, it's the apparatus is materialize concepts into like tools and practices.
Tools and practices.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if
Which is
Chat
going to be interesting when we get to your thing.
Uh-huh.
Thinking a lot about it. Yeah.
Events refers to event and praxis. Oh, this is a long one, but it's still the what like the end goals.
Mm.
I don't know how to put that. Identify like the what tools and tools and practices.
Well, it tells us what the apparatus does.
Uh-huh.
You know, like so it says like TFT builds apparatuses, and the people who build the apparatuses are these people. And what the apparatuses do is that the apparatus is materialized. It takes concepts and materializes them into either like a practice or a tool, or maybe they're the same. And then yeah, something like
Yeah. Is this an okay way to have noted that?
I think um
Yeah.
how about turning concepts into
Okay.
mm,
Nice. Oh,
uh
okay. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
into material practices. I don't know. Yeah. And tools.
Mm-hmm.
And what are material practices?
Well, this is where it gets complicated because I mean, I think we're now making this is something that I want to bring up when we get to the other part, but like if we are like perpetuating a certain split between material concept and material, because something that I always like hear in the back, always Broad's voice saying like the discursive is material, like the discursive is material, so like I'm just like that's but I think what we mean usually by material is that like we have an idea, like, an idea, and then it becomes bodily somehow or engages the bodily either by practice that we do, that engages the body
Okay.
or like a tool um, that also kind of engages bodies, right?
Uh-huh.
Mate-
Cool. I'm not, this is like Connie partially a question for me and my own just understanding of what some of the terms that we use are. That makes sense to me though. I put this little circle as a way of just documenting and noting a mark on body and a feeling. Um, is there any, do y'all want to spend any more time on this eelworm?
Let's keep moving.
Okay. I'll read this one. Based in Karen Barad's conceptualization of the diffraction apparatus, diffractive methodologies are about, quote, reading insights through one another in attending to and responding to the details and specificities of relations of difference and how they matter, unquote. Every other week, we dial into vast internet networks to perform as a diffractive apparatus called Thinky Feely Tank. Through these Thinky Feely Tanks emerge technologies that support our coming together / enable us to turn to one another amid the isolating individualist conditions that we'd otherwise die within. And then some of the responses to what this description does that we came up with last time. This description provokes with the word die and with the term vast internet networks. It names and defines diffractive methodologies. It points to Barad. It provides source text for engagement. It puts labor on the person who is interested. It pokes fun. It brings in the internet. And it expresses the particular form of accessibility that is via online.
One thing I want to add,
Yeah.
based like coming out of the other one, is that one thing this is doing is it's saying that Thinky Feely Tanks perform as apparatuses, as opposed to the other one is like creating.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
that's a big distinction, something that we should like look at maybe later when we do the comparisons.
Yeah.
Perform.
Perform.
The TFTs perform as apparatuses or diffractive apparatuses, as opposed to maybe emphasize the perform.
Cool.
Just in contrast to the other one that co-creates.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other way to emphasize.
Mhm.
In the other one, did we? Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna do that here too.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
When it says when that puts labor on the person who is interested, is that a similar comment to the inaccessibility thing? Or was it something else?
Yeah, what did that comment mean?
I remember this comment as like these few sentences, when you're reading it, you are given work to do to understand what it means. And that work that you're given to do is like reading and interpreting this Barad quote. That's how I understood it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think I'm wondering like similar that I wonder how is similarities and differences to the inaccessibility thing, like scripting it, like describing it this way versus that way is like maybe saying different things or something, but kind of saying similar things. So I'm curious about that.
It's also kind of funny. Isn't the interpretation of a statement like what happens with any kind of linguistic activity?
This is a rough, messy note, but
which is also interesting because it gets into like the assumptions or expectations of reading, like that it shouldn't be hard or something like. oh God, this is getting, I have like questions about this in terms of like teaching and students often saying texts are inaccessible. And
Yeah,
how is it like,
inaccessible is a really like that's one thing that we didn't talk about with this is like what inaccessible what we mean whenever we say that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And maybe part of that is part of the answer is in that one, you know, like
Mhm.
part of what people consider inaccessible is an unreal, unexpected or you know, amount of work necessary to understand what the words are saying or something. It's interesting though how the sticky note happened on this platform.
Yeah, it is.
It's like this whole
I,
separate thing that then you have to like, it's like, yeah. And then they're like giant.
I'm making these notes. I think these notes can be relevant in discussions of difference, what differences do.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. I feel solid with where this one's at.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Shoot. Squeeze,
Oh,
squeeze, squeeze.
ah. I guess I can read this one. This one's mine.
Cool.
Um, so think tanks and its name point to the privileging of the mind over the body. Parentheses, mind body split and in parentheses, and also that the mind and body are separate. Think Feely Tank, TFT, centers a somatic approach, i.e., our whole cells, parentheses, quote, our sensing cells, our feeling cells, our thinking cells, our behavioral cells, and our relational cells, end quote. And that's by Stacey Haynes. Sensations, emotions, the non-rational, the insensible, the unobservable, the emergent are attended to so as not to feed the dominant and naturalized beliefs, belief entities, concepts, logics that keep us worlding within the 5%. TFT is an effort to world the 5% beyond itself. So some of the things that people said that it was doing is that it explains TFT's relationship to think tanks. It creates slash emphasizes certain conceptualizations, names what it is against, 5%, separation between what think tanks do and what thinky feely tanks do, emphasize observable and sensation to counter rampant conceptualization, attending to feelings that we don't get super deep in concepts slash beliefs, against naturalization of social roles. I mean, I think this is also, I mean, I'm just now thinking about also when I was like bringing in the very beginning, we were talking about the concept, the main concepts of apparatus and bringing in
Yeah.
the body. So definitely think it's trying to do that, like really emphasize some kind of like um attending to, yeah, like the non-rational, not just like for the body and but it now feels, you know, now after kind of like last meeting, it also feels aspirational, I don't think. Um,
What is it aspiring to?
to be more bodily, to be
Uh-huh.
less concept, because I think it is pretty conceptual, especially after reading your thing. And I agree. So now I'm like, oh yeah, this is like aspirational or something. Um, Also, it is like it's doing a lot of like agential cuts, um,
Uh-huh.
in kind of meaning like, you know, there's the 5%, there's the beyond the 5%, or like there's the mind body. So while it's naming it, it's also like doing those cuts too, which I'm not, yeah. So it's like both criticizing, but then also producing. That's all that I would want to add. Oh, it also is naming generative somatics too, since we're talking about like the things that it's naming like broad
Yeah.
or something.
And who's the person who's quoted?
Stacey
Stacey
Haynes.
Haynes.
There's an I in state in Haynes, isn't there?
Stacey Haynes.
Oh, if there's an I, there is an I.
In Haynes?
H-A-I? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay, great.
I just added it in the main keys.
To me, it emphasizes mind body split and belief entities, like the way that those exist in parentheses, put like an emphasis on those two
Mm,
terms.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I also think based on like how we're kind of like building what jargon is, I also think it's pretty jargony too. So
Yeah, I agree. Although I can see, I feel like there are some aspects of it that make more sense than otherwise. Like, I don't like in the one I wrote. I think if you don't know a couple of words, then like you don't even know how the words fit together. Where here, at least, like the structure of the sentence is transparent enough that you like centers a somatic approach. That is our whole selves, and then a list of ways that ourselves can be. So it's like someone who's really determined to be confused can be like, what do you mean our sensing versus our feeling selves? What's the difference? Or um but like at least there's some traction into thinking about it. But the last sentence I think is maybe the most like requires a lot of background knowledge, I guess.
totally. And it's very like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Very kind of feels like a manifesto-y feel to it. But it also is bringing in, I didn't realize this last time that what it's doing, it's also bringing in like the non-rational and the unobservable and the insensible, which might not be how people think of feelings or something, or like
Mm.
feelings and emotion or somatics. Um,
And it associates them with each other. It associates
no,
the
I guess it does. I guess it does. Actually, it is associating, and that is like it's like merging broad with generative somatics or making connection because like that whole emphasis on the non-rational, the unobservable, the insensible, the impossible is like a Baradian thing, definitely not like a generative somatics thing. And also
uh-huh
like Donna Haraway and all that like, feminist technoscience people.
with um with
Somatic,
generative.
yeah, generative somatics. Um, mhm.
My brain and focus could use a couple minutes of something other than thinking about these words, and I need a pee, but I'd be down to
Yeah,
both go to the bathroom and do a little bit of something to shake up with y'all or
yeah, yeah,
something, but
yes,
I'll be right back.
Me too.
yes. I also think of yeah. Do you go on your break?
Okay.
Oh, Gossamer's on.
Gossamer.
I was gonna say before you want to break that, that's something that I think about, how there's no breaks in the meeting agenda.
So true. And sometimes like sometimes I guess this time I was really feeling it. Sometimes it just kind of goes by, and not that it feels short, but it just goes by without a break in nets.
Yeah, yeah. But I think about that, especially after the TFT2, I was like, damn, I don't have any breaks in these meetings.
Gossamer,
But
are you here?
maybe, wait, where's the chat? Maybe she can't talk.
Okay,
Mm.
I feel I I'm ready to I could like I want to do something, just like shake around my body with y'all or something like that.
Yeah. Oh. Mm. Oh yeah. Oh, I want to stand up now. Do bend overs. Back. I've been sitting all day. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
nice.
Yeah, it feels so good. Stretching. Ooh. 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 I almost drooled. Good yawning. Yawning, it can sometimes be a sign of down regulating. It's nice. Mm.
Okay, I feel like moving on to the next one. That good?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm getting some ideas for uh nice things about what comes after we finish this page here. So this is helpful. Okay, I'll read this. TFT is a publicly co-evolving quantum somatopsychic organism. And the things that we wrote down last time, tone of individuality through the soul of psychic term. Oh, this is
Oh,
splashing
this
words
is the
around
one.
for our soul conversation.
Totally. Yes.
Makes a creature in my imagination. This description strings words as a path. It points to a quantum physics worldview. This description places description in mind block. Oh, this places the description in mind body with a spiritual tone. And this reverses the term psychosomatic and makes a distinction between mind and body.
Mm. Oh my God, wait, this might not be related to, I mean, it's related to our conversation, but I was thinking a lot between the difference between like the soul and the spirit, as we were talking about last time. And like how the soul is like, I think how most people think of it, we're talking about the soul as like the, like kind of our inner, like ourselves, and the spirit's more like a social thing or like a, and so I was like thinking about like TFT as maybe an apparatus that is like bringing our soul into spirit or something. Like, yeah, an apparatus that connects the soul and the spirit, you know, or as a way to like, yeah, like make allowing our soul to become part of the spirit, you know.
Wow. Because what are the different kind of value judgments that you have towards those two terms in saying that? Are
What do
there
you
value
mean?
judgments towards those two terms?
Um, I mean, I guess it depends on the context. Like, you know, I got, you know, like, hmm, I mean, in certain contexts, I might, you know, be like, oh, this is some like,
What's the difference between soul and spirit, I guess, is the question.
This is our conversation.
You want to
In Piglet,
recap?
do you have a way to put it?
I mean, I think the way that I stated is how I understood it, you know, where the soul is like kind of, I mean, we got into like much deeper conversation in terms of is there an essential self within a quantum physics worldview, right? Like if there's no, you know, if there's no kind of essential self, or if particles or whatever don't have like essentialized characteristics, then what is a soul? And is a soul something that is not entangled or something, you know? Anyway, so but the soul is like how we were, I think, talking about it, and maybe Lampshire, if you can, and Gossamer too, because Gossamer was a big part of this conversation, as like to keep it in very simple terms, like the soul is like the individual, like our relationship with our soul, like it's our, and then the spirit is like something that's collective and
Okay.
entangled, and
All right.
yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Between the soul and spirit, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was saying after that conversation, I was thinking about it for a while, and then I was like, oh shit, maybe the TFT is an apparatus that connects our soul to the spirit, because a lot of it's talking about the individual and the collective, and and like, and actually this kind of segues also into our conversations with privacy in public, and like how Grady is talking about the self, like the conception of the self, and how like she was saying like the concept of privacy, you know, like that, and to expand our consciousness or our weight, and not in our soul or whatever, to include others, or like a wider kind of, not just ourselves, but like, so then like can that also be applied to the soul, the way that we're understanding the soul?
Right.
I I have a feeling to this.
Mm.
Um, um, which is like a guardedness around the conceptualization of soul, and that like soul as this essential, like what how did you put it? Like essentialized self, and like this like
Mhm.
unchanging thing, like that is this is I think I was speaking along the similar lines in our conversation last time. Where like I feel defensive about like being like, okay, TFT is like engaging with aspects of truth and reality here, and then soul, the concept of soul is engaging with like aspects of truth and reality here, and neither of them are right. And there's like guardedness and defensiveness, and maybe this is my soul. Maybe this is my soul guarding and defending, is like around like around like these overlapping, because I think whenever I engage with soul, it's a pretty uh there's some pretty deep acceptance that sometimes is not aligned with my political values. Whereas my engagement with Thinky Feely Tank is very much a place that is trying to further and develop and make more possible my like political values. And I think these come from the defensiveness is also has this belief. There's this belief entity paired with this defensiveness that is a belief that soul does not survive. The concept of soul does not survive in the concepts and values that we are engaging with in Thinky Feely Tank.
That's
Because soul is this essentialized, like soul is like non-quantum. Like
yeah, it's like a different this is reminding me of a conversation I had with Lauren, who was attended the Thinky Feely Tanks, and we were talking about like forming the teams. They were like, why does it have to be a material thing? And so like, because they have a deep spiritual practice, and they were at the time going to theology school, and so they kind of like are in this in that's like their, or what, I don't know, they engage with it a lot. And so they were saying that they believe that there's a realm, like there exists something that has no matter, because we got in a conversation about materialism. Are you a materialist, an idealist? And a materialist believes that everything has some kind of material form, right? And so they're like, no, like kind of similar, like no. And I'm sort of wondering if you think similar, like there's different realm, like almost different, yeah, like different worlds that don't actually entangle or ever kind of have a relationship or an exchange, because they operate so differently. For example, like the spiritual world, where there's no matter, like it's like a whole, like we can't even concept, like imagine it, because yeah, is it like that?
it's about that by intermingling them, like that seems to require that seems to deny a certain kind of uncertainty. And this is an interesting thing because we talk about uncertainty and like the universe beyond the 5% universe, but still in like entangling conceptualizations, it feels as if that I don't know how to do that without it relying on like assertions against uncertainty, and by and letting soul be in this place that is beyond my understanding and certainty, rather than trying to understand it and have a full understanding and have an understanding for how it doesn't how it is entangled with and does relate to notions of spirit. That seems to be denying its uncertainty and like
Yeah.
striving for a sort of certainty.
Yeah. It's reminding me of like I don't know, stuff Pat McCabe talks about, and like the example of like in Hospice Sigma Journey, when like they're talking about they're like someone, yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna put it
Yeah,
bodily. Yeah.
this gets the circle for sure.
I totally, yeah, and down with that. I like that. I guess my question then is, is there ever, yeah, like interchange or communication in which they would influence each other or have the capacity to change those worlds? Or are they do they never are, there's like a hard agential cut, like boundary?
I don't know, and I don't want to know. I don't know, and I don't want to try to know,
Ah, uh-huh.
or at least the like parts that are really that are like getting that are that are activated by this are like, no, let's not try to know.
I like that. I'm down with that.
In some ways, I feel like quantum is the place where everyone gets to throw their like doesn't have a is not materially perceptible, but still like exists in the universe kind of concepts. I posted this link to the chat about of a article from last October about how like some scientists who think that the brain does connect with the quantum universe in some way. I haven't actually read it, but
Oh yeah, there's so many texts about consciousness and the quantum. So many texts. And I
yeah,
think a lot of it has to do with like notions of like the observation, like observing changes. And so like
yeah,
even
and like, and I think that the thing, even for even for a, even if you like, I'm willing to believe that there are things that have no material, almost willing to believe that like there are forces that have no material like manifestation, except if I'm able to perceive them at all, like that that itself counts as a material manifestation. Like
uh-huh.
if I can, even if like even if like praying out loud were to reach a conscious entity somewhere, like that is,
Mm-hmm.
like praying, and again, like even articulating a prayer in the mind, like is doing some stuff in a physical space that is like then reaching whatever non non-tangible, non-observable thing that we're talking about. And so it's,
So even if we can imagine it, is what you're saying, right? Even if we can imagine it, it makes it material.
well, I cannot imagine something that I can't imagine as material. Um, like
So then the
what
soul, like the word soul is also then is material because it's a material discursive practice that we can like trace to, which is why maybe Lamsh, if you brought the question, does it bring up like like the words soul and spirit, they're like a bodily, because those are conceptualizations too,
yeah. Yeah, and actually maybe yeah. Well, so I think the closest, I think the most undeniable manifestation of spirit is just like existence itself, and like the expansion of the universe, and the like existence, and like planets turning, the Big Bang, from the Big Bang to planets. Like cosmology itself is like observable only in its effects in some ways. Like the force that
Mm.
the and so you can't touch growth. You can't touch evolution even. Like, but there are processes. Like there's something about processes that I find very intriguing in the interface between our bodies and spirit, our consciousness and spirit, cycles and
Oh.
orbits, physical laws.
This is, I wonder if this relate, if it doesn't relate, I want to come back around to what you were saying, Splash, but I think it might, but I don't know. That as you were talking, I was realizing that, okay, yeah, everything can be material, but there's an association that I have with like recognizing the materiality of everything, but then, oh, how can I say this? Like the certainty and uncertainty thing, and like the striving to have something understood versus not understood. I think there's a thing that I'm interpreting in how y'all talk about what is material, as material is something that can be understood or that we strive to understand. And is that and that's what I realize that I'm trying to say about soul. And then I think there's something interesting about process. Like process is not the same as understanding material. And like engaging in a process doesn't necessarily mean understanding the process.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. And this a really great bit from Performance All the Way Down is where he's talking about where he's talking about how like every biological process is a performance, and like and should be understood as a performance, and he's saying like you could no more make a definitive, comprehensive account of like the growth of the development of a body in utero than you could like make a definitive, authoritative account of how a short story works.
Or a definitive authoritative account of the data of your experience of a relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all phenomena, and like you can make approximations of any phenomenon, but like there'll always be another performance that brings in some other, that has other elements. Like nothing is ever the same.
Can we add something to the thing about performative versus conceptualization or representationalism? Sorry, performative, because that's something that Barad also talks about too, and that gets into the process. And then like, so there's something about like this discussion is about like, yeah, like the performative, the process, and
Yeah.
then the conceptualization, which is when we assign things meaning, basically. Like
Yeah.
this, we did this, therefore this means that, or this result means this, and then we start making meaning from it or statements, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm wondering how that fits in with the as a diffractant apparatus, like is a
Uh-huh.
diffraction apparatus. I mean, I would like to think it's like more performative in process, right? Um, and then maybe it's about like attending to when we solidify into a concept or a representation or a meaning, which is meaning is a form of representation, right?
Oh, meaning, yeah. I feel like I feel like I didn't type this well at all in relation to
Mm,
what you actually said. But
yeah.
it maps so much onto this. This is literally, this is describing like an organism that just performs.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I love that. An organism that what is performing it. Yeah, it's describing an organ. It's an organism that performs. I love that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, it's perfect. But how you wrote is perfect. Oh, right.
Huh.
Mm.
Um, what are we doing?
Yeah, maybe it's like is a diffractive machine a performative? Is apparatus a performative thing, or is it like making meaning? Like
Yeah, I
is
mean,
it?
so
Oh,
this can really take us back to these.
mm,
Like this is about
mm,
study and understanding.
mm-hmm. How it's performing, what it's like how it's becoming, how it's making meaning, right? Like,
And yeah, yeah. We're one this a diffraction apparatus is for having rigorous analyses. It's for exploring entanglements and their differences and the differences they make. It's for studying.
mm,
And that's something that I'd really
mm.
appreciate digging into with y'all and seeing how that relates to this other thing, which is just like performing and not developing meaning or
Uh,
certainty.
yeah, can we make a note on that, what you just said, like according to like the Baradian, it's, definition of practice, it studies,
Uh-huh.
it does like rigorous analysis, it studies, it, um,
Study to explore entanglements.
mhm, Yeah, so it's like
Um,
it's almost like it's exploring itself, like right? It's doing the thing, it's trying. Oh my God, it's okay. But now it's bringing us back to like the stick in the dark pitch black room. Like so it's like is the TFT examining itself, like examining the stick or using the stick? Like examining ourselves as a diffractive apparatus, or is it
uh-huh,
using us as a diffractive apparatus?
uh-huh.
And right now we're kind of looking for a stick, right?
Yeah. I think right now we're looking for a stick. Yeah. But in looking for a stick, we're trying to examine the
Trying to figure out what kind of stick we're looking for.
I love that the snake is like the stick.
Snake the stick. Can we do the last one?
Yes.
Is this the
Yeah.
appropriate time to move on? I'm having a fun time. This is
I-
really interesting. This feels like it's getting at like questions and uncomfortable questions that I haven't had a way to articulate and explore that are like kind of about the meaning and why of both what we do together and what I do that leads me to want to do this with y'all too. This is really
yes.
helpful.
It's so helpful. You're so good at this. Like this, I swear is like your superpower, like facilitating these types of things. It truly is.
Oh,
I don't know yeah, like you have like the way you frame things and like the process, it's really generative. It's great.
do one of y'all feel like reading this one?
I haven't done one in a while.
Okay.
Thinky Feely Tank develops ideas that can strengthen our fight for liberation in the current day capitalist United States empire. We do this by entangling trauma theory with computational tech. What this does, it reads as action. It names what it is against, this empire, uses language that is familiar to many people, focuses on the production of ideas and concepts, feels practical in its specificity, it provokes, and is legible as activist language.
What else does this description do?
It's like a TFT strengthens, like it strengthens something.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, what's
It strengthens ideas or like develops ideas that can strengthen. Oh wait, no, it strengthens the fight for liberation. It's something about
yeah,
strength.
yeah.
It strengthens.
Describes the purpose of TFT as strengthening our fight, yo. And what does that do? What does it do? What does it do for TFT to be described as strengthening our fight for liberation?
Well, it makes me think of like danger rooms, like trainings, like we're here to
Yeah,
like train, like we're training, doing some training.
yeah. Um, um,
It also is like it's interesting. The trauma theory, I think, is interesting seeing it that way because it's like the discursive act, like we only like using the discursive like conceptualization of trauma or something.
um,
Like yeah, like we
We
yeah,
develop
something like
ideas by entangle. Yeah, it's like also it's not just strengthening its ideas that strengthen, right? So it's very conceptualization centric.
uh,
Mhm.
Ideas that entangle trauma theory with tech.
Yeah, and that trauma, as opposed to like other descriptions, like emphasizing like the somatic and feeling, it's like, oh, we're actually like working with the conceptualization of trauma
Yeah. Yeah.
as opposed to like the trauma or something.
Hmm.
I mean, which in some ways, yeah, after I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'm like, maybe there's something also about. Hmm. I keep thinking also about, yeah, like the apparatus is like this alchemizing machine or something, like, well, alchemize are like, materialize concepts into, like material things, or like soul to spirit. I mean, I don't know if that's true.
Hmm.
That's it. Or like strength, like get out of the 5%, or like, like it's like a thing that, or connects things or something.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I think also what it's doing is like there's a sense of maybe like an urgency or something to it. Like I didn't read that was it already.
Is there more that I can add to make a little pink note for discussion of differences about
Mm.
alchemization, what you're saying about that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think that's worth noting.
Uh yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, either like materializing concepts, or, I mean, I know this is my thing, it's not really in the statements, but
Yeah.
like the alchemizing of the soul to the spirit,
Uh-huh.
the individual to the collective, you know, concepts to tools, like stuff like that. Sounds like there's a lot of talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, either alchemizing or bridging, or yeah. I only have 4 of my chocolates left. I got myself like this Valentine's Day, like
Cute.
for elbow. Have you ever had Christopher Elbow chocolates? They're so good. But they're like so cute. They're like super, I can't see it very, but they're like really pretty, and like they're airbrushed.
Cute.
I only got 4 of
Entangler, do you remember what you said about this definition, about this description after you were talking about alchemization?
that. Oh, which about the one that we're on right now?
Yeah, it was just a little note that you said.
Mm.
It was about urgency.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Evokes urgency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do either of y'all have a clear imagination or clear idea of what could be constructive to do next in terms of moving from what we've done this time and last time into having stuff for the website?
Wasn't there another section that we were gonna do that?
Mm-hmm. And we could just keep on going with this and next week really talk about like the differences and just have discussions. I think those could help clarify what we want Thinky Feely Tank to do and what we want the description to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's one approach we could have. I'm gonna
I would
stop
like
sharing.
that. Also, was there another description, the one that from Gossamer, that was like the fulcrum of life and death?
Yeah, Gossamer, I don't know if you're here right now, but there was this other there was a description that you'd started describing, um but then it was me, I was kind of noting as you were putting words to it, and it was very we were all quite we all found it quite appealing, but it's currently in a kind of, yeah,
Oh, it's like not a full statement.
yeah. But I mean, it's right now it says a fulcrum around which life and death can hover when the splits in society between body. No, it's not. I could restructure it a little bit to make it a complete thing. Gossamer, let me send it into the chat, and uh if you have a preference between, we could hash that out. Yeah.
We can also, I know that noting the time, we can also like add it to the, if Gossamer, if you want to think about it more, but I was just gonna note that's another example of the alchemizing, like a life and death, or
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Gossamer, does it feel, is this like a baby of a description that you'd like to care for a bit and add to and fill out, or are you happy with the okay, yes, cool. Okay, so we'll have that coming in next time too. And so, well, look, this is cool. We'll be in the mode of uh talking about what this final description does, and then we'll go into discussions about what the differences among the descriptions do. Okay,
I love this.
cool.
I feel like we're doing it. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for facilitating.
this has
Yeah.
been, I've enjoyed this. Thanks, y'all.
And you're okay to
Yay.
do it again? Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yay. Okay. Can we do,
Oh yeah, we have to do our
what's a good thing to say?
Splash, you got anything prepared?
We remain entangled, but spooky action at a distance.
So good. All right. Bye,
Okay, bye
everyone.
y'all.
Night.